I'm looking at Batman, Volume 1, I Am Gotham, part of the DC Universe Rebirth, Tom King, David Finch. And the one thing I want to say that is outstanding about this book is the art. It is worth purchasing just for the art. I wish some of these pages that you could blow up and put as like a huge poster on your wall. The art is absolutely amazing, and it is well worth certainly thumbing through it and looking at it just for the art alone. The story overall is good, not great, but it's good. It's a good solid B, uh, maybe even B plus storyline. I think so. It's very good that way. I don't remember any real bad dialogue or anything really cheesy about it or anything like that. And as you look through some of the pages that I've got there, you'll see the kind of the quality of the art, the layout, just very dynamic. Like I said, a lot of these things you could just put on your wall. The basic story is we're in Gotham, and there is two new superheroes that show up that have kind of like Superman-esque powers, a man and a woman. I think one of them calls himself Gotham. That's his name, and that he calls himself as Gotham, and the other's Gotham Girl or something like that. And as we follow them along, as Batman's doing his thing, stopping criminals, and they're attempting to help him, he at first is leery of them, but then takes them on and kind of accepts that they're around and tries to work positively with them. And eventually, as we find out, they were Batman admirers. They were not born with these powers. They used their parents' money and influence to acquire these powers from a lab. However, every time they use their powers and how much of their powers they use, they burn off their life. So they're literally shortening their lives. And what their plan was to use their powers like at max level for 2 years, which is about the time they would die, to help Batman clean up Gotham, and that was their goal. And they were going to, I guess, willingly sacrifice their lives to do that. But they do find out that just having these powers isn't enough, that there are other problems, that just being superpowered, you can't fix everything that way. And in point of fact, they even find out through another villain that makes the scene on that he actually gains somewhat control over them mentally, and he makes them kill. And it's quite sad in the end because they do have to fight the Justice League, the entire Justice League against them, and they do end up killing the man, and the girl still has her powers, but I believe at the end she just powers down and doesn't use them to extend her life. And she's also has some other problems from the mental mind control and having to fight her brother and all that sort of thing at the end as well. Excellent artwork, good story. As you can tell, it was about 4 weeks ago, maybe even 5 weeks ago that I read it. The highlights kind of stick out to me a little bit, like the rough sketch I gave you, which it's kind of interesting doing these, kind of this discussion about the book so long after instead of right after, because it's not fresh in my mind, so that it kind of gives you, I think though, in one way, an indication of how much of this story are you actually going to remember, how much of it's going to stick with you. And you can see why I called it a good story, with the good and bad stuff that sticks out. But not a whole lot real. The more memorable part is more in the latter half, where Gotham gets mind controlled to a degree, and causes lots of murder, and Batman has to get that under control, and unfortunately it ends up costing Gotham his life. But as you can see, the artwork is very dynamic, very awesome. Lots of this stuff you're going to love, and it is definitely worth it just to look at that magnificent artwork that is in this book, which gets I don't think the actual art for like a Batman type book gets any better than this. Certainly you have different styles and different ways of telling the story. The actual art in it is A+, and you can't go wrong looking at that. If you have any further questions, put them down below, or any other comments. Bye.